Listen to the Vibes.
Welcome, everyone, to another episode of Listen to the Vibes. Very happy to welcome here Marcy Langlois, and she is a trauma-informed coach. And so we're going to get to know her and have a great conversation. Marcy, let's start this off right. Tell us a little bit more about yourself.
Thank you so much for having me today. It's a pleasure to be here with you and all your audience.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah, so I have been on this path of healing my own trauma and addiction, chronic illness for the last 20 plus years, really. And now my goal is to really light the path for the people that are still struggling and suffering.
I connect with people like you. I have similar circumstance. I was molested when I was a child, which is part of my trauma.
Yeah.
And a few years ago, I developed a spinal disease, which caused me to have to retire early. And since the age of 12, I was addicted to alcohol and drugs, and it got to be a full-blown habit. And it's not about me. This is about you. Tell us a little bit about your trauma.
Yeah, thank you so much for sharing your experience with me. I think it's important that we start to normalize that people have trauma and that it impacts every area of our life. I don't know anyone that experiences trauma and comes out unscathed. And so I think it's time that we start having these kinds of conversations and drop the stigma that we have to keep this stuff bottled up into ourselves. And, my trauma started the day that I was born. I was born with a cleft lip and palate, which means the top lip doesn't form all the way across. And I had no roof of my mouth. My parents were already struggling when I was born. My father was an active alcoholic, and my mom was only 19 years old. And I had a brother that was 19 months older than me. We didn't have much of anything. There were times when we had no running water and no electricity, and things were always volatile and chaotic. And as I grew up, when I went to school, I realized like I was very different than the other kids, the way I looked, the way I spoke. And so I was taunted and teased and bullied, and our home life was chaotic all of the time. And as I kept growing up, I accumulated these beliefs that I was not okay, that there was something wrong with me, and that I was not worthy or valuable. And sometime in elementary school, it became very clear to me that I definitely, really, I was a lesbian. That's what I was. And I didn't have the verbiage for that, and no one talked about that, and there was nowhere to go with that. That was in the 80s. No one talked about that, not at my house or anywhere else. And so I just thought if I shoved that down far enough that I would never have to deal with it. And what ended up happening is those beliefs continue to accumulate in my own mind about my own worthiness, of just being alive, of being who I was and being alive. And I had uh, I had 9 major surgeries that involved 23 surgical procedures, starting from the time I was 3 months old until I was 18. And so as I went into high school, the surgeries were ramping up because I had stopped growing. And that's when all of the surgical, not all of them, but some of the surgical procedures can happen, is once the body stops developing. And so they were ramping up, but I saw the light at the end of the tunnel. I knew that they would end by the time I was 18. And I was really looking forward to things as I rolled into my senior year. And I had gotten accepted to college and I was ready to go. I couldn't wait. And on my way to my after school job in January of my senior year, um, I got into a multi-fatality car accident, and 3 people lost their lives that day. And that was when my addiction really took off, because again, I adopted these beliefs that I didn't deserve to even be alive, really. Right? These lives were lost, and in this terrible circumstance, even though I wasn't found legally responsible in any way, I felt responsible. And I believed that I was, and I believed that I didn't really deserve the air that I was breathing. Survivor's guilt is a very real thing. And so I just went over the edge. I had started experimenting with drugs and alcohol really in middle school. And then by high school, I was pretty much a full blown alcoholic. And after this accident, I just went over the cliff. It was the only thing I knew to deal with the pain that I was experiencing. I had a lifetime of trauma. And really, what was going on for me was I was experiencing complex PTSD. And I didn't have a name for that or, a way to manage that or any of those things. And so the only way I knew how to deal with it was really drugs and alcohol. And so I did that for 10 years. I couldn't get out of bed without being loaded, literally. And so that's how I managed. And then, really, I decided to make a different choice. I decided to believe something different one day. And I showed up at my first 12-step meeting. And that was over 21 years ago. And I've never taken another drink or drug since that day. Um, and that sort of was the turning point of my life. Things did not get all better all at once. Things actually got a lot worse before they got better. Um, but that's kind of the lay of the land of where I started and sort of what got me on the journey of healing.
Was there an aha moment for you when you decided that you wanted to change?
You bet. You bet. My daughter was my aha moment. She was driving down the road one day with her, and I had just picked her up from school. I had been drinking, and I was taking her back to the bar with me, which is what my dad did with me. And it was like I was living in a parallel reality. It was like I was the little girl with my dad driving me back to the bar, all at the same time. I was the adult driving my own daughter back to the bar. It was like this 2x4 right over the head, right? Like, oh my God, you're literally doing the exact same thing to your daughter, what was done to you. And I was like, I'm not doing this. I can't do this to another human being. And within 10 days, I went to my first meeting, and that was it.
Is she the reason why you stay sober today?
No, she's not. I stay sober today for myself.
Mm.
Um, I can't I can't put my sobriety and recovery contingent on anyone or anything. It always has to be for my own highest development and evolution. Um, the byproduct of that sobriety and recovery is that I have an incredible relationship with my daughter all of these years later. And I'm able to show up in the world and be a different person today.
I wished I could say that. My children and my grandchildren are really why I stay sober. I still have a hard time, just how do I say it? Caring about myself. And I don't know why I feel this way. I
Trauma.
love I love my kids to death and I love my grandkids and I love the fact that I actually have a relationship with them, but I just don't care about myself.
Yeah, that's trauma. Trauma. I just did a video about this. Not to get in your business, but that is a hallmark sign of trauma, is that we internalize the shame um, from the experiences that we've had. We start to hate our own selves because of what has happened to us, and that's just such a hallmark symptom of trauma, untreated, unresolved trauma.
It's difficult, but I don't know, maybe doing shows like this really helps me to stay on task as well because I don't want other people to feel this way. So that's why I bring people like you on to maybe guide somebody out there has experienced what you have and can relate and they can find hope. So what is that message of hope from you?
Yeah. So Yeah, so I'm just thinking about here what I want to say. So the thing is that until we treat the trauma in our body, then we will continue to have the same patterns. Because what happens is that we have beliefs, and our beliefs become our thoughts, and our thoughts become our feelings, and our feelings become our behaviors, and our behaviors create the life that we live. Period. Right? That is literally how it works for all people. And so these beliefs that we adopt about ourselves that are grounded in the trauma and life experiences that we've had have either the ability to move us forward or to keep us stuck or cause us to go backwards. Right? It can be debilitating. I know I've spent years and years of my life debilitated by it. And until I understood what was going on. And when we have trauma, trauma literally changes the way that our brain works and the way that our bodies function. And so, what I've learned is that if you can uncover the belief and you can change the belief, it will change everything forward. So it changes the thought, the feeling, and the behavior, which will change the outcome in your life so that your life can be completely different. I'm going to tell you right now, if someone would have told me this 25 years ago, I would have told them that I thought they were crazy, right?
Right.
I would have told them that if they had my life, they would drink too. Um, right, all of these things, all of this old thinking that I had. But what I'm here to tell you, that my own experience and the experience of my clients that I work with day in and day out show me that what I'm talking about is absolutely true and achievable for anybody that's willing to do the work.
So do you have a daily affirmation or anything that goes along with it?
Oh my gosh. it's it's a whole process. It's a whole deal, really, right? It's a whole thing that I go through. It's a whole process that I really what I do. It takes me 12 weeks to work with somebody through this process. And my whole goal is that by the end of the 12 weeks is that I have gotten you far enough along down the path and giving you every single resource that you need so that you can continue to do this work on your own because it takes time. I can tell you that for me, it has taken me about 3.5 years to really have a different, you're changing the wiring in your brain is what you're doing through neuroplasticity, right? And
Mhm.
so, today, the thoughts that fire in my brain are thoughts of, um, wow, I wonder what today's going to be like. Like, I'm super stoked about today. I wonder what all the possibilities are, right? My old thought used to be, I wonder who's going to die. I wonder if I deserve to be alive. Um, no one even cares, so why bother? Right? Those were the thoughts that used to plague me. And today I don't think those. Like literally, I never think those thoughts. It's so rare for me to have any of that thought come up. Um, so it's a process. So it's not a single affirmation to answer your question. It's a whole deal.
If you don't mind me bringing the subject up, 'cause I know it bothers me sometimes,
Yeah.
bullying,
Yeah.
the bullying that you went through during school.
Uh-huh.
Um, how did you deal with it?
I didn't. Um, right. I didn't. What I did is I let other people determine who I was.
Mm,
And I learned I couldn't articulate it at my young age, but what I observed and what I caught on to was if I could just be who other people wanted me to be, then I could fit in. And so I kept abandoning myself over and over and over again to be who you wanted me to be so that you would like me, so that I would feel worthy and valuable. That's how I dealt with it, right? And luckily part of my story is that really, I'm so thankful because I hear of kids that are teased and bullied all the time today that aren't as fortunate as I was. And I was lucky enough to actually find a friend group and not be completely and entirely ostracized. And I know not everybody is able to do that or has found that relief. And so I'm so grateful for that. But that's what I found is how do I find my way through here? How do I adapt? How do I adapt? And who can I hang on to for support?
So you go into a survivor mode,
That's
if
right.
that's the best way to explain it, because you articulated what I went through when I got bullied.
Yeah.
Whenever you are determining whether or not there's a good fit between you and your client, what are you looking for?
Oh, that's a great question. The people that I'm looking for are people that have tried everything and are at the end of their rope and think like nothing's going to work for me. You don't understand, Marcy. I've been to every therapy group. I've tried all the modalities, the diets, the supplements, the medication, the therapist, though, but none of those are working for me. Those are my people. The people that feel complete desperation and despair and hopeless, those are my people.
Hmm. Do you have a website that people can go to?
Yeah, it's just my name, marcylanglois.com. I do have a specific website, and I'll make sure to get that to you. That will just bring you to a landing page, and you can book a free call with me on that website right there. Um, and that way I'll chat with you, 15, 30 minutes. The last thing I ever want to do is work with somebody that I can't help, right?
Mhm.
Because I don't want to add to your feeling of despair. So I'm pretty clear on who I can help and who I'm not able to help. And I'll just be honest with you. I'll just tell you straight up.
Mhm. You have other places people might be able to go to if they can't work with you?
I have a lot of connections within the healing community. So yes, I think I can get most people to some sort of resource and stability.
Mhm. I hate for anyone out there to feel like there's nowhere to turn. So if they can, I will put the link in the description so they can talk to you and
Yeah.
see if that's the fit. Now, do you have social media?
Yes, that's what I was gonna say. So like if you're maybe not ready to work with me one-on-one, but you need help and support, if you follow me on Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, or YouTube, I put out content twice a day. And at least one time a day, I'm giving you like a real actionable item, something you can do to change your life today.
So, again, I will put all those links in the description just to make it easier for folks. But Marcy, thank you so much for spending your time with me today.
Yeah. Thank you so much for having me. What a pleasure and honor. Thank you.
I appreciate that. And I also want to thank all you folks out there. If you are new to the channel, I hope you'll come back. Please hit that subscribe button. And for my regulars, you guys are awesome because you make it possible for me to do this. Until the next one, everyone, please take care. Be kind to one another. God bless and peace.
We hope you enjoyed this episode of Listen to the Vibes. You can catch us on Buzzsprout or wherever you listen to your favourite podcasts, and on YouTube. Follow us on Facebook at The Vibes Broadcast Network